Hello and welcome to Mind the Gap. A unique podcast by Whitefield Global School where we bring together two very important voices of our school community, our parents and our students. I am your host and moderator, Dr. Sita Shankar, and here I am today to discuss a very, very important topic which not only resonates with the students but with the parents as well: examinations. Few may be motivated by it, but most dread it. And today, in our episode, Exams Unplugged, we would like to unplug fear, anxiety, and pressure from exams and reframe them as opportunities for growth and learning. So let's dive into this conversation. And at the outset, I would like to welcome all our distinguished panelists. And I have with me Mr. Ashok, a senior faculty at Allen Career Institute, who's joining us today. Thank you for coming. I have Mr. Maurya SN, who is a prolific author and also a career coach who mentors children to choose their career paths. Mr. Saurav Bhalla, who is a seasoned professional, a software engineer by profession, and BTech in computer engineering by qualification. Thank you for coming in today. And Dr. Bijayani, who is an accomplished academician who works with CMRIT as an associate professor. She's a doctorate from IIT Kanpur. Thank you so much for making it today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And with me, I have my beloved students. Pihu from grade 11, Prashansa from grade 11, Arav from grade 10, and Reyansh from grade 9. Let's begin Mind the Gap. I would like to bring in Mr. Ashok right here. And the question that I keep pondering about is, are these traditional examinations a fair indicator of our children's abilities, in your opinion?
Ma'am, when you see the present Indian scenario, when education system began right after the Westerns, the invasion here. So when you consider our population, the present education system is, in fact, it is affordable, because when you look at the population size, we cannot actually go with another alternative. According to me, of course, being a teacher, right, I actually agree with the present education system. Of course, there are some issues with respect to conduction, rather, analysis of the students' efficiency in their subject. Maybe that can be little altered, but present examination system, I agree with.
Thank you. So coming from somebody who is in this line as an educator, examination system, the way we perceive it may not be the same way that the students perceive it. So I'll bring in Arav here. Arav, what do you think? Is it fair on students, the current examination system, the assessments that you take? Are they putting students under pressure?
But I feel exams could be a really good weapon, particularly for a 2-hour or 3-hour window, where I am able to analyze how I'm performing within that time frame. But exams lack the characteristic that they're not able to analyze how I've understood core concepts throughout the entire year of my learning. Exams are great at a lot of things. We talk about standardization of concepts, comparability, and basic accountability. They test something called recall, where all of us humans have something called memory, and we are able to remember stuff that we have learned earlier. But what exams lack is that they are not able to escape the boundaries of creativity. A lot of the skills that are required in the modern generation. We talk about creativity, we talk about collaboration, teamwork, all that. Exams lack this feature. And also I would like to point out something called competencies. So competencies is how we are able to apply the knowledge that we have in the real life scenarios that we are put as an adult or whatever. So something called NEP, National Education Policy of 2020, has been released by CBSE, where they're trying to put more of competency-based questions to test not only the rote learning that we remember and just write on our paper, but also how we are able to contemplate the situation that we are put in. So simply put, exams are a useful tool, but they're not the whole truth.
Something that we all believe in as well, examinations is not the whole truth, right? But taking from what you're saying, you spoke about pen and paper tests, basically, the traditional mode of examination where we conduct a 1 hour or a 2 hour exam. So, like you said, competencies can be tested. But my question to Mr. Maurya is, do you think all competencies can be tested through traditional mode of examinations where we are giving them a pen and paper test and making them sit for, 2 hours or 3 hours? Are these standardized tests beneficial as they seem?
Yeah, in fact, I would say everything cannot be tested on pen and paper to be particularly skills part, right? Like critical thinking, decision making, right? Productivity, and the communication, collaboration. These things you cannot test on from pen and paper. It has to be demonstrated. It has to be practiced, and it comes when the modality of education and examination system also need to evolve.
So, evolution of the education system moving from your basic memory tests that we usually conduct to a much more broader perspective where we bring in, like Arav. The point here is that we do a lot of assessments, but how are the students taking these assessments? What are their feelings on the assessment patterns that a particular educational institution is giving them? So, Pihu, in your opinion, what kind of stress does exams put on a student?
Right. So, agreeing to what Sir said right now and your question, exams tend to put a lot of pressure on the student, obviously, since it judges your performance on that very day. How you perform on that day of the exam instead of what you've absorbed and learned and what has been imbibed in you throughout the course year. I would like to share an anecdote. Back in fifth grade, I was preparing for a geography test. The night before, I had a complete breakdown because I was required to memorize the soil types and places where they are found, and I was already struggling with geography, and that hit कि मतलब I would fail geography if I did not know the soil types and where I would locate them because they come on a map, right? I somehow managed to pass that exam, but in ninth grade, I had a similar topic in geography, but I commend the teacher since she taught it to us in a manner of project. We were supposed to collect different soil types and paste it on a chart paper, which was put up in a classroom. So every time you pass by it, you glance at it, and at the exam, I am truthfully saying this to you, I could just recall our project and answer all the questions. I think more than paper and pen exams, it is important for schools and institutions to judge us on the basis of our problem solving skills, how we collaborate on projects, and like Sir was telling to us, in countries like Singapore and Denmark that are known for their academic rigor, they practice practices that have like basically they focus on collaborative projects that show you how collaboratively you can communicate with others on the same project, and also open book exams that are conducted there. They allow the students to access the internet, and that shows how you can like there's no necessity to memorize your information right now, but it's important how you find that information out, how you interact with the internet, how you interact with AI, how you form your prompts is more important.
Pihu's thought process is more about how a particular concept is taught and how we question the student on the concept that is taught. So if there's a concept understanding, then definitely exams, assessments don't matter because you already know what you need to speak about, and projects help in students understanding the concept deeper. But when you have competitive exams after the 10th grade and 11th grade and 12th grade where the scores matter, right? So a particular way of answering matters, and you're graded in negative marking if you go wrong, correct? So when that is the examination pattern in 12th grade, do you think that the school can invest so much time on doing a lot of project work and other kind of assessments rather than concentrating on pen and paper? Mr. Saurav, your take on it?
In my opinion, it has to be integrated. Like Sir just said, we need to evolve. A lot of evolution has already happened I mean, we are sitting right now in 2025 and talking about this. This itself is an example of where we have evolved from and where we are going to. So, talking about this competitive exams, I strongly believe, in addition to the project-based learning, like the way it happens in Whitefield Global, it has been happening all these years, which is great. I think it's also important to incorporate some parts of this competitive exams already early on, but it's very important to remove the fear factor from examination.
Remove the fear from the exam. I think Exams Unplugged is all about that. So, Rayansh, how can you remove fear from exams? What should a school do for removing fear, anxiety, and pressure from exams and assessments?
Schools should implement like the teachers should start giving students tips on how to not fear the examinations. Like for example, a student should be also learn how to be open to their teachers. They can, for example, there's like a science exam tomorrow, and the student doesn't know the whole concept. If he's like always scared and he doesn't ask his teacher for the doubts, of course he's gonna have some doubts and he's gonna fear the next examinations. But then if the student knows that his teacher is not gonna say anything to him, if they build a bond with the student, where the student also is open and the student is open to interact with the teachers, so the teacher so that they can get rid of their queries, that's how they can avoid a fear for the examinations.
Assessment for learning is very important, what we call as formative assessments. That's what Rayan spoke about, where we assess the students to understand how much they know and then work on the students so that they know better than what they knew earlier. But what happens when there is also parental pressure, where a student goes home with marks and the parents are disappointed, and that probably puts a little more fear in the student about the exams and assessments. So, Dr. Baijeni, how do you think this makes a difference? I mean, a parent's input or a parent's role in a student's performance in an examination?
I think that the pressure from the parent side, that has been, it has been happening over the years, from generations. We have seen, we have also faced that. I remember when I was a kid, I was not allowed to go for any extracurricular activities. I liked music. I was not able to pursue that because, studies are important. You have to get good marks. But we have evolved over these generations and we have learned that marks are not so important. The emotional well-being of the child is important. His happiness is important. We are also facing that. We have been struggling in our jobs, and we have been working so hard. We want them to be happy, and marks are secondary. First is their happiness, emotional well-being. So when it comes to a parent, personally, I would like to mention that I do not put pressure on marks. I would always try to pacify. Marks are not so important. You have to learn, you have to get good, you have to perform well. Like, marks are not like 100% marks. That does not certify you that you are the best. So that is my take, that as parents we should learn. Those parents in the present generation also who pressurize the kids for good marks, they should also start learning that they should be little calmer and little softer on the kids, so that, because the kids will lose their self-confidence if if teachers and parents pressurize them too much.
So basically, you have summed up the Three Idiots movie, where they say that don't pursue success but pursue excellence, because if you excel in what you do, success will follow. When we tell students that marks are not important, but the effort you put in is very important, where does the accountability to perform well in the test or assessment come from? Okay, so Prasiddhi, what do you think motivates you to do well in an exam?
So first of all, I would like to start off by saying that for me, there's always been two types of pressure: the good pressure and the bad pressure. Now, the bad pressure always came from the expectations from society to that if your marks are good, you are a good person. If your marks are bad, you may not perform that well in life. You may not get success, as you said. But personally, I believe that excellence only comes when you know what you do and you like what you're doing. And people who are like parents who put bad pressure on their children, I would like them to, ask themselves, will I really be happy if my child is not happy in what they're doing? Now, coming to the good pressure, I feel like this good pressure is what drives me. I'm the kind of person who does intensive study right before the exam, but that doesn't mean 6 hours before the exams cramming up all night. I mean to find the sweet spot between consistency and intensity, and I feel that's the secret of how I crack exams. And how I find myself accountable for myself is the good pressure that I feel like I'll do better if I have a pressure on myself. But again, it's different for every individual. Every individual does not like pressure. Some people prefer to study a month before. Some people like the pressure that's there a week before. So I feel like that's how you hold yourself accountable. Find your space where you feel the most comfortable to study.
A comfortable place to study, and different types of pressures, one that motivates you and one that puts you in a lot of anxiety, and you're afraid of even giving an examination. As an educator, I have seen many children buckle under this kind of a pressure where right before the exam there's a breakdown. They don't come to school, or they avoid the assessment altogether. But when we look at a long period of time where they keep giving exams, and then there is a certain type of exams that certain kids do very well in, are we being unfair to the children who don't fit into that kind of a format of an assessment? So, Mr. Maurya, according to you, what about those children who may not take up the regular kind of exam, say a pen and paper test, or an examination where they sit in a room and they write with invigilators? It may not work well for them. What kind of assessments do you suggest for students who need a different kind of pedagogy?
Yeah, I think you well said, because there are 7 types of intelligence. It's not something, somebody is good in linguistics, somebody is good in your mathematical, logical, and the social. So different child is born with different intelligence, right? And our education system is just addressing one intelligence. How much you can understand, how much you can memorize, so that you can write exam. So in that scenario, I understand. In that case, I think we have to evolve somewhere wherein to identify their niche area, their natural innate ability, and there should be proper credit given to them. I know it's very tough for the education system to work on all these type of intelligence, right? But that's where game is, particularly if you go to Europe, and where the Europe and US few parts, they have evolved a lot, where particular suppose child is good in sports, they give a huge credit, say 60-70% for the sports, right? Rest 30%, okay, this particular pen and paper can follow.
So the thing is that when we talk about examinations and we talk about the marks that the students score, one very right thing that Mr. Maurya pointed out is that when they go for an interview, even though we say marks are not important, the first thing in an interview form they ask is your 10th grade scores, your 12th grade scores, and that's the basic thing that any interview form is asking you to write down. So that assessment pattern that we have then kind of flows through to your work area, and then it goes into what you're doing, your career path. Everything is determined by your marks, is what we feel. But I would like Pihu to come here. Pihu, how important do you think your marks are for you, or your scores are, to get into the college of your choice?
I think with the current education system we practice in India, marks are the most important thing one needs to get into their dream college. But along with that, with the recent evolution that the NEP has brought into the same education system, I think they've started focusing more on extracurriculars. During 10th, during my board year, I actually participated in the World Scholars Cup. So it generally taught me how to balance with my extracurriculars and also my academics. And I was not disappointed with my 10th grade marks, and I was also quite satisfied with my WSC performance as well. So I don't think marks as such are the most important thing. That's my personal opinion. But in the coming future, I'm hoping that marks aren't of the most utmost importance according to the education system and the society that we live in.
Marks will take you to the college of your choice, but your skills will ensure that you get into the career path of your choice and you're successful in life. I would like to bring in Mr. Saurabh here. How much of a difference did your scores make in your career choices and where you are today?
I mean, we should not deny this. They are the first qualifying criteria. I mean, it's not right to say, but unfortunately, it has been this way. It remains with us forever. But at the same time, they don't define you as a person, number one. And secondly, we have to remove the stigma from failing, actually. We need to learn as parents, as students, children, everybody, that it's okay to fail. It's fine. Even if once the marks were not good, it doesn't mean that the person is going to be a failure throughout. Now, since you asked about me in particular, my 10th marks were better than my 12th marks. I was kind of an average student, okay, and above average, I would rather say. But what I'm doing today, where I'm working, and what work I'm doing has nothing to do with what I learned in my 10th and 12th. So, having said that, marks do define what we get into, at least back in our times, but they do not at all define where do we land up in future.
So we don't know where our marks will take us. There may not be a direct correlation between the marks that a student scores during their 10th or 12th grade and how successful they are in life. So this shows that we need to destigmatize examinations and look at skill building. So Rayansh, what kind of assessments would you like to give if you had a chance to change and reformat the entire assessment and examination system?
If I had to reformat the entire examination system, I feel I wouldn't put like the students under a lot of pressure. Like, for example, like how CBSE is proposing open book tests, we should have open book tests, but then in like the time foundation should be like rethought of it. Like, I feel 3 hours for writing an 80 marks paper is sometimes less for some children. They should know how to manage their time, but then the time should be thought accordingly. Like, for example, at least increase it by half an hour or like 1 hour. But then the students should also learn how to manage their time, which they can be taught by like interactive activities. And the examinations should, if they made open book instead of like making them memorize and mug up everything, they learn the skills of how to like find the information and use their skills to find the information.
So basically research skills develop when you have an open book test format, and I think somebody also was suggesting a project based test, and somebody was talking about a collaborative test so that you see how a person works within a group. Amazing thoughts on how a test is conducted. But I would get back to the point Mr. Ashok made right in the beginning. In a hugely populated country like India, when we have certain number of seats in the premium colleges of the country, how do we frame assessments that is fair to all? Mr. Ashok.
Yes, madam. Actually, when you happen to see the evolution of education system itself, the big barrier of our country is population. It is, we have resources, very less resources, right? But the people, in fact, who need, whom we need to cater the education is so much. So that time, the people maybe they would have already researched it, then they actually evolved this kind of system. But still, I believe that as our panel members are saying, when you want to get into a particular professional course, right? No, you cannot take any child and put into the course. So you need to actually filter it out. So in order to filter, you have to study theoretically. And of course, now we have been in our days also, it's my 26th year of teaching. Right now, I missed my medical seat because of 3-4 marks. But still, I'm very happy that, I produced hundreds of doctors. So it's not that, like, as sir was saying, some mechanical engineering he has done and he will get into some computer science, something like that. It's not. So, but basically, in order to study the professional courses, you need to have a basic knowledge. You know that, no? As Prasiddhi was telling, the bad pressure and the good pressure, both of them are there. I actually consider it as not a pressure, it's a force. Negative force, positive force. See, one, like, in order to understand the subject, we need to study. So why we, like, all the time I tell you, we teachers have a very important role to, in fact, disseminate the positive pressure inside the children. That, see, you are studying for your life. Yeah, study. Right? No, but don't take pressure. I all the time, advise my children, students, don't take pressure. But, you love it. You love your what? Subject. You have chosen it, right? PCMB you have chosen, right? You have thought so much and you have taken so much of advice and you have chosen PCMB. Love it. It is your lover. Like, when you love it, you will definitely study. And that's what going to bring you really into this particular very good field. And I also tell them, choose the professional course which you want. Don't get pressurized by your mummy, daddy, or you want to become doctor, you become doctor. You don't want to become doctor, don't become doctor. But till 12th standard, whatever Indian education system is there, it is actually very apt. Because, when you have so much of population, you have to filter it out, you have to have such kind of system. But still, we have, as we said, to get into IITs, get into NITs, and of course, in all the medical colleges, JIPMER, everything, you have filtering examinations. You have to qualify, and madam, we have 50% pass percentage should be there in the 12th standard. Then only you are eligible to write NEET examinations, IIT examinations. And even for engineering, Karnataka CET and then COMEDK exam and all, they are taking their theoretical examination marks also. See, it does mean that, you need to have the logical thinking, aptitude, the content about the particular subject. So then only you can qualify the examination.
So the most important thing here that I gathered is that we need to restructure our entire assessment pattern, which does not solely rely on memory or solving problems on a pen and paper, but also a tiered level of examination where you have one set of tests which are looking at the aptitude of the student, and then the second test is testing the skill of the student, yes. And then a third test is testing the attitude of the student. Yes. That way you're doing an entire competency based testing, and then you select only the best of the students for a particular role or for a particular profession. So, Arav, how do you think course content and the syllabi that students are given to study for an exam, how does that put up pressure?
So when talking about the course content, syllabus, all that, it all depends on design. It all depends on how you design the syllabus to fit into the student's role. Course content, especially in subjects like English and Hindi, we see a lot of students complaining about the fact that why do we study stories that they may not use in their future, but still they have to remember the stories and answer questions based on that. Concepts like maths and science are still important when it comes to the future, as the panelists have already pointed out. In the competitive exams, maths and science specifically are given a huge role compared to languages like English and Hindi. So talking about stress, especially stress that comes with the syllabus is universal. It has to happen because of the vast structure of course that is put upon students, and students are not able to balance out studying the entire course and still managing to do stuff like homework or co-curricular activities and all that. So yes, syllabus does have a huge impact on the stress that plays, but there are a lot of solutions to that as well. So what I believe as a student is everyday studying. Almost anything in life can be combated if every day you put effort and try to win that subject. So every day we just put 20 minutes or half an hour for every subject, we can combat this stress that comes along with the syllabus. Because if you see from grade 1 to 10, I believe the syllabus is still somewhat not that big, but entering into grade 11 and 12, it does become hectic, especially because of the introduction of a lot of new concepts you may not be familiar with beforehand. So talking about grades 11 and 12, yes, everyday practice does help a lot. So that is my take on it.
Now, in my view, I completely agree with you, but I also feel like up till 10th grade, people need to have space to explore what they want to do. Because, like they said, to go into the competitive exams, into the colleges, you need to like what you do. So, I feel like there should be a system where students are able to explore and easily identify what they are good in, what they're interested in, and what they would like to pursue. And after that, I feel like we all can agree that we don't hate giving exams when we especially like the subjects. For me, I did not like math in ninth grade, so I scored very low. But then when I explored the world of economics and accountancy, I feel like that hit me just right. And I enjoy what I'm learning. So I feel like there should be a system where we explore, we find our interest, and going forward, we study for the competitive exams, like they said, the traditional exams. Those are also fine because they test us on our aptitude in our particular field, but we just need to like that field. So that's all I would like to say.
So, interest plays a huge role in how students perform in their examinations and assessments. I would like to bring in Dr. Panda over here. How do you think students who have done excellent in their 12th grade examinations when they come to college, do you see the same kind of performance levels in college as well? Or do you find that they have put in extreme effort to get through the competitive exams and they come into the college, but the interest levels are not there or their skills are not?
That depends from student to student, but many students I see, if they are really passionate of the field in which they have got into, like after 12th, say for example computer science or mechanical engineering, whatever subject they're really passionate about, because nowadays there's a lot of exposure to students. Even when they are in their 10th, 11th, 12th, they can learn about the engineering. If they are getting into engineering, they know that okay, this is how an IC engine works, or this is how this coding happens and all. So if they get into the stream of their interest, then they might do well. But sometimes they might be distracted or overloaded by various factors. Like, we cannot say that, I mean, for sure as to how to do. But if they are doing good in the 12th, does not necessarily say that they will perform well. It all depends on their interest and how passionately they are following their interest. That is.
Talking about interest, I think it is built over time. Sometimes the kids, the students, they may not know what their interest really is actually. Like when she was saying that she explored economics, the world of economics. That's how it came up. And now she's enjoying. She enjoys giving exams. I think we have been talking about exams, patterns, syllabus, and then marks. Instead of it, if we talk about incentivizing, coming to school, incentivizing giving tests, incentivizing giving exams, that may help. This is human nature perhaps. If we have some good incentive associated with anything, a good feeling associated, we all are happy about it. So when I said removing the fear factor, what I probably was getting at was this. Talking about competitive exams and all, we have a tendency to always go there, because eventually that's how we are built as a country. Like you were saying, a huge population, limited number of seats. Perhaps that's something which is infrastructural. It could be tackled by building more colleges, universities, tackling the number of seats, and that's a long-term plan. But in a short-term thing, I think incentivizing entire education, studying could help. I think that could go a long way. Like the way we do, like you were saying, you don't put a pressure to the kids. I think none of us do. This generation kids are almost on their own when it comes to choosing or making their own choice on what they want to do, or they want to speak rather. So I think going the next step is going to be this way.
To achieve and survive in this, and that's good also. Lifelong learning is not only subject about lot of skills, lot of knowledge, not about the subject, which is about life. So that will continue.
Prasiddhi, how important are examination marks, scores, to get an acceptance from parents? Not just for you, generally when you see amongst your friends in the classroom, how important are scores for students to please their parents?
Okay, so I feel like every single student reacts differently to how they score in exams, especially in regards to their parents. And as the parents mentioned that, they don't try to give pressure, but they always consciously give pressure into our brains. And I feel like that's also a self pressure that I put into myself that, I need to do good so I can make my parents proud. And that follows because of the expectations that if you score good, you're going to achieve good. So yeah, that's my thought. And also that the marks that everyone here gets, there's two types of people who take the feedback and try to improve on it, and people who get demotivated in that. So incentivizing is a great opportunity, and also a more focused feedback system, that instead of handing out the marks and the paper, you can tell them, oh yeah, you went wrong here, and I give you my feedback, and this is how you can improve. This is how you can improve this particular field or this question. So yeah.
Ma'am, I would like to add on to that. Talk about marks and grades. I believe that marks is just data. They're not a verdict. When we look at report cards, we look at our marks. They don't always mention the skills we have developed, like leadership, collaboration, communication. Now, something called a holistic 360-degree report card has been published by National Education Policy of 2020, which is not only highlighting the marks that you get, but also the other facets of life that you go on to develop.
For the previous generation, examinations were a rite of passage. Somewhere it would probably give an indication of students' perseverance and discipline. For this generation, examination is about application, innovation, creativity. So that's where there is a generation gap that we see. But to conclude, I would like to take the closing thoughts from our participants today. And let's start with Reyansh.
Examinations are important, but then they should be restructured accordingly to the child's understanding, and they should not be pressurized much, like to score marks, because marks are not everything. They don't define you as a person.
Marks or exams are just a trailer of the movie. You know what the rest of the movie is all about? It's actually mastery of the core concepts, everyday learning. We need to promote everyday learning rather than just sitting and writing exams. Yes, exams are an excellent way to test recall about what we have learned. Otherwise, we would just see students who learn something every day and forget them the next hour. So we need to find the middle ground where we are able to understand how to integrate exams and recall along with integration with stuff like learning everyday communication skills, collaboration skills, teamwork, all that.
Three things. I learned that marks they just define your performance. They don't define your potential. It's our job to figure out our potential and then perform well with our potential. And second thing is the lifelong learning. I feel like that's a big hit for me because we all need to do everyday learning, like he said. And I feel like lifelong learning can be the secret for me. And and also I feel like it really does help opening up to parents. I feel like we should engage more mind the gap sessions in our own homes. So yeah.
Adding to what everyone mentioned, I think marks make you overlook your individual strengths and what you are capable of, what others may not be. Marks are a standardized comparison of everyone. But I feel like more projects where everyone can collaborate, learn to communicate, and develop skills that are more necessary in the future and not in the past, according to the past standards, are what's more important.
Let the government, let the educationalists like ma'am, like principals and head of the institutions take, in fact, the very good decisions like campaigning like this to alleviate the pressure or, fear of the examination. I really congratulate WGS. In fact, it's kind of, the initiative just to remove the fear from the children by such kind of talks. And of course, this particular talk will definitely motivate children. At the same time, I also want the children community, like student community, to understand that with the limitations, with the present limitations, you need to choose where you are good in, best in. Choose till 10th standard. You have so much of time, right? Maybe 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. This is the time period where you can definitely choose where you are good in. Arts, science, commerce, whatever it is. Next, choose the your 11th standard combinations. Okay. On the basis of that, Of course, still you are not very much sure that, become doctor or engineer, whatever it is. Like, go ahead with what PCMB or maybe psychology, maybe what, nutrition science, whatever it is. And then after this, after that, there are some competitive examinations. You are going to go through that and then get into the particular field. Of course, with the limitations I'm telling. And again, the government should evolve with a certain kind of mechanism that, where all the children with all the abilities, all the standards should be fit in. The government should come up with such kind of mechanism must be what, evolved. And at the same time, madam, I also want to request all the panelists and then children, we should also think about the remote people, those who are there in kind of villages, remote places where, they cannot access even internet. The children have to go to what, some kind of do some job and then go to colleges and all, such kind of, we have to keep them also in our kind of what, scenario, and the government should evolve with the mechanism so that, the holistic improvement, it should be there for the academic field for the entire country. This is what my talk.
We need three things to change, to be honest. Exam has to be evolved to assessment, right? Let's remove the exam word itself. Assessment. Assessment is required, right? Maybe subject-wise assessment, unit-wise assessment is required, so that unless if you can't improve unless you measure it. To be very honest. So second thing, education has to be evolved into edutainment. Education should not tax on our brain like it was taxing a previous generation. It should, because that's how children get diverted to social media, because they find they are more engaging, more interest. So education has to evolve into edutainment so that students enjoy learning, right? And third change is required the social stigma, attachment of the marks and grades to achievement. It has to be detached, right? This is 5 years assessment. Somebody is not performing today, it doesn't mean he or she cannot perform further. So this social change also need to not evolve. It has to be part of parent, that this should be detached. Every child has different potential. Today, tomorrow, once you encourage them and put into their zone right interest, right strength, they will perform and they will succeed. Thank you so much.
I think, ma'am, your question was that in our times it was more about writing passages, paragraphs, and now it is more about project-based learnings and then skills, etc. And where should it go, basically? And closing thoughts on it. I believe writing passages, paragraphs, and the way it was in our times, it's equally important, as important as it is to understand and learn the concepts and the projects. Because when we write, or when we speak, it gives a structure to our thought process. It's important for teachers, for institutes, to also assess the children on their flow of thoughts, on how well the thoughts are structured in a child's brain. Number one, it shouldn't go away fully. We cannot do away with it. Reading, writing is an integral part of learning, I believe. How much, what proportion, I think it's experts' job to do. You guys are best in that. Yes, project-based learning and other ways of putting the concepts in their brains is also very important. It cannot be only objective type or subjective type. It has to be mix and match.
Yeah.
And exam per se, the word becomes very heavy actually, or we have made it very heavy, you rightly said, over the years. Perhaps incentivizing it, over, it could be a better way or a newer way of doing it as well. And exams cannot go away. They need to be there. That's how, we kind of get to know what's the improvement point, what is to be corrected, course correction, I would call it. And finally, you rightly highlighted, actually, we are living in cities, big cities, and then we are talking about this. We are talking about this in English. There are people living in the interiors, rural sections. They don't have this exposure. They don't even talk about it. For those people, I think, and for everybody as a country, as a society, we should also focus a little bit more on, educating the kids in their own local languages. It is best when a concept is taught to a child in the same sound, in the same, language that they have been hearing from their childhood. They would understand and learn it the best. And if they are assessed or examination is taken in that, I think it becomes an integral part of, or probably an enjoyment for their lives.
I feel that traditional way of learning, which we have in our Indian in India, that is not going to go away. And I feel that is best because you can see overall worldwide, everywhere Indians are performing so well. This is because of our education system. We should not deny that. But then we should add on few more. Exams are good, but learning is a lifelong process. Exams are one day thing, but then how else can we assess the students, and how else can we put them in different places, say in this particular seat in this particular college? That has to happen. But then we should incorporate all these, incorporate more and more. It has been happening over a decade probably. Project based learning, all these different kinds of assignments that students are getting, quizzes and everything, that has to be incorporated, and credit should be given on those as well, apart from their exam marks. So if that is incorporated throughout the country, I think that is really going to help them in their holistic development, the students' development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, participants, for this invigorating talk and diverse perspectives that we heard today. So, in conclusion, I would like to leave you all with a thought, something to introspect. Exams are mere milestones. They are not destinations. And exams are moments in the journey of learning. They are not a measure of someone's self-worth. So this attempt we have done today, this endeavor, is for us to liberate exams from the stigma of fear, anxiety, and pressure. Once we do that, the learning space, the school space, becomes a space of joy, of creativity, of innovation and confidence. On that note, thank you for joining us in our conversation. And until next time, let's mind the gap. Thank you.